Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I am your host, Wendy Nystrom, and today's special guest is Traci Park. She's the Councilwoman of the 11th District in Los Angeles. So welcome to the show, Traci.
Wendy, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. And one of the things, there's so many topics and so much good work that you're doing in Los Angeles, but let's start with what made you want to run?
Wow, that's a really big question.
It is.
I have been a practicing attorney here in Los Angeles for more than 20 years. And I've worked with cities all over California, advising on policy development and legal compliance and municipal liability and labor relations issues. And I saw what was happening in the city of Los Angeles and becoming increasingly concerned. I am also a resident of Venice and had a front row seat in recent years to this terrible human tragedy unfolding across our communities. And I was approached by a number of residents and business owners in my district and asked if I would consider taking on the incredible challenge of running for the CD11 seat. And so after giving it some real heartfelt thought, I realized that not only was my community asking for my help, but I realized that I had a certain background and skill set that I thought would translate well into a policymaking role here in the city of Los Angeles. And so all of that came together and factored into my decision to step up and take on the work of trying to improve not just the Westside, but our entire city for everyone.
And as you said, that's a really big job because, I mean, I'm a fan of Venice and the Marina del Rey area, and I go there a lot. And yeah, we have seen quite a bit of change. A lot of homelessness has been happening, but a lot of businesses were suffering because everything that was happening in the neighborhood was affecting people's safety and able to keep their businesses open, keep their businesses safe. So you guys are actively doing things to get people housed, especially veterans. That's a very important topic to me personally. So I do love the work you're doing with respect to that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And you're right, in a lot of ways, we have put our frontline retail workers and baristas and proprietors onto the front line of a mental health and addiction crisis and public safety crisis. And a lot of businesses across the Westside, especially in Venice, were hard hit by the 1-2 punch of both the pandemic and the public safety crisis. And, we are working very diligently to try to address homelessness across the district in the city. I am very personally invested in restoring public safety. We saw hundreds of businesses close during the pandemic. And, it was women, minority-owned, family, immigrant-owned businesses who were the hardest hit. And I really want to recognize that our local businesses, not only our small businesses are the backbone of our economy, but they are the tapestry of our everyday lives. So whether it's your favorite dry cleaner or wine merchant or taco shop, those are the folks that provide the services that we depend on and the places where we gather with friends and family. And I want all of those businesses to be able to thrive and to succeed here in our city. And boy, do we have a lot of work to do to get our economy kickstarted.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the fact that during the pandemic that people of color and women-owned businesses were the hardest hit. And they were. This was their life dream. This was everything they saved up for. And they said, I'm going to open my shop now. And they just got that 1-2 punch that took them out. And bringing them back is so important.
And every time we lose one, not only has someone lost their investment, but employees lose their job. Our communities become less stable as a result. And if we don't make the holistic fixes that are going to bring businesses back and enable them to thrive, we're going to have a really hard road ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And what you're doing is actually phenomenal. I do want to touch about with your veterans. You have permanently housed 6 veterans and you have more in that pipeline.
Yes.
That's gigantic for me because I'm so respectful of our veterans. What is that plan so people know about it, so they know what to look for?
Yeah, so I think that the saga of the Veterans Row encampment around the VA in Brentwood is, a really telling and illustrative narrative. Veteran service organizations, community members, and the VA worked so hard to bring those folks that were encamped around the VA onto the campus grounds to get them into bridge housing and the tiny homes,
Yeah.
while we have invested all of this time and money building new housing for disabled, homeless, and at-risk veterans right there on the VA campus. And
Yeah.
then, because of a bureaucratic twist, we were unable to move some of those veterans out of tiny homes into the housing that we just opened. And these are disabled veterans who are 100% service connected to the VA. These are the people who would benefit the most from living on campus adjacent to the hospital. Yes. And because of the red tape, we couldn't get them in. And my team and I worked really hard and really closely with the VA to cut through some of that. So we have now been able to move 6 of them into that housing, and we have several more in the pipeline. And that's the kind of work and diligence that it is going to take, so that we don't get in our own way when it comes to delivering the help and the housing and health services that these veterans have earned.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you cutting through red tape, because everyone knows government is notorious for red tape. And
we're
always
really good at bureaucracy.
Oh, yeah. And slowing things down to a snail's pace, glacier pace.
Yes.
So cutting through that's rapidly. And actually, there's so many good things now happening at the VA with that new building, the new construction. I recently saw the renovations happening. And there's a group called City Greens that popped up. And they have a vertical indoor garden, and the veterans volunteer there and they work there to help harvest it. And I love seeing that, engaging people, getting people back to work, doing stuff that they love, and the therapeutic resonance that happens with that. But sorry, I love veterans. I could go on forever.
Me too. And some of the programs and services that are available on the VA are the best in the city. And yes, we've got to do everything that we can to get those programs at capacity and make sure that our homeless veterans know it's there and can easily get into that system and connected to the services that they need. And frankly, that means we need to go out and get them. We can't just sit around waiting for them to come to us. Yeah. We need to go get them and let them know that this is what's here for you and what can we do to help you.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a beautiful, I mean, the area is beautiful, and that is why that land exists. Sole purpose of helping veterans. But going on, and another thing you're working on is the Olympics are coming. Yeah. We're only about 5 years away from the Olympics. That's a huge event happening.
Yes.
There's work that needs to be done.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And even before we get to the Olympics, we have the World Cup coming in 2026. Right. That's right around the corner. And, Los Angeles is increasingly home to major sporting events. We just hosted a Super Bowl. We hosted the college national championship football game. We have major sporting events here in our city and some big things in the pipeline. And as we are preparing for those, we need to be thinking about transportation and accessibility. We need to think about the resources and amenities that attract those events here, that implement a sustainable way of keeping Los Angeles a premier destination. Yeah. And one of the things that I have been focusing on as chair of trade, travel, and tourism is the Olympics and the incredible economic development opportunity that creates for our entire city. And it also, raises some serious questions about our energy infrastructure. And our games agreement actually requires us to have a sustainable energy infrastructure plan. And so I brought a motion in City Council a few weeks back to get that set up and help us start making the investments in that energy system that is going to benefit our community for decades to come, even after the Olympics are long gone. So there is a lot of work to be done and a lot of really exciting opportunities for our city.
And you touched on my favorite topic in the world, which is renewable energy.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. I mean, our grid is not great right now. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and you seem to be a master at cutting red tape. So I have a feeling you're going to get this done. But one of the things I want to talk about, because we have the electrical grid, which is awesome. We don't have enough raw materials for all the batteries. It's just not enough lithium. Cobalt's a bit challenging. Let's talk hydrogen. I personally love hydrogen, and you have the Scattergood plant, which I don't think many people know about.
Yeah, so that has been an electrical generation station for a long time, and as DWP works to achieve our LA 2035 plan, which is having us entirely pulling from renewable energy sources, we have to have vision and make investments in different kinds of sustainable energy infrastructure. There is some discussion around the potential conversion of Scattergood to a green hydrogen plant. This is in the very, very preliminary stages now. And what we have done is authorize DWP to begin a procurement process to see if this is something that is feasible. Now, I think that this would be one of the first in the country, if not the first. And it's going to be something that really could set a standard across the country and internationally if it can be done. But I also want to be very mindful of environmental impacts. I want to keep in mind the environmental justice issues around it. And as proposals come back, it is going to be essential that there be community engagement, that safety concerns and environmental concerns all be addressed. But we have to look at these types of alternatives. We have to make investments in different kinds of systems if we're going to achieve our goal of getting to 100% renewable energy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been talking about energy diversification for years, simply because if we rely on one resource, when that resource fails or there's a hiccup in the system, everything stops.
Right.
And we cannot afford to do that. We cannot afford to have everything shut down, especially during the Olympics or all the sporting games we have, or people's livelihoods, to be able to make dinner, feed the kids, wash the dishes, things like that. Diversification is one of my favorite topics. I'll spare you all of the things I have to share about it because I know you're very busy. But talking about everything with the homelessness and vets and helping people in the Olympics and energy, anything else that's I know that's a lot, but hey, what else are you doing? What keeps you busy?
Well, there are so many things on our agenda. And, obviously, homelessness and public safety really are top of mind issues for folks around the Westside. Yeah. But investing in our environment and sustainability initiatives continues to be a huge priority for me as well. And, I look at our district here on the Westside, and especially, following Earth Day and all of the wonderful celebrations that we had over the weekend, I have an incredible responsibility to be the steward of some of our city's most important environmental assets. We have our beautiful Bionah wetlands, the last remaining piece of a patchwork of coastal wetlands. All of our watersheds move through Los Angeles out towards our ocean, our beautiful Santa Monica Bay and our coastline. We have our gorgeous Santa Monica Mountains up in the northern end of our district. And, we provide habitat and biodiversity that is incredibly rich and wonderful. And if we don't think about wildfire mitigation, if we don't think and talk about water resiliency, keeping our ocean protected from runoff and pollution, we really jeopardize those assets. And we have an obligation and a responsibility to protect and preserve those for future generations. And so that is work that I am focused on a lot of different fronts. And, I think about places like Venice Beach. That is an asset that belongs to every Angelino. And people from all over the county, the state, the world comes to Venice. And, I want to make sure that those places are safe and accessible and welcoming to every member of our community. And I want to ensure that we are focused on the environmental degradation and that we are doing everything that we can to remediate that.
And I personally thank you for that, because I'm an avid open water swimmer in the ocean, wetsuit, everything. And I've been getting notifications from, the city of LA, don't go swimming, too much bacteria. And I think I get them every day now.
Yeah. And that's, indicative of, the overall health of our ocean and the sea life that depends on it. And I see those reports, and, when it is the failure of infrastructure, it upsets me. I find that we oftentimes are being reactive to things. We don't invest in maintaining systems that we currently have. And just even when you look at, for example, our plumbing around the city, we have pipes in some places that are 100 years old. Yes, those are environmental catastrophes waiting to happen at every turn. We have spills, and raw sewage is being leaked into our Santa Monica Bay. Unless you get that alert, you can't go out swimming. I can't go out surfing. And that's not acceptable for any of us. And, as a policymaker and as someone in the position that I'm in, I have an opportunity and an obligation to be a very close watchdog on those issues.
And I personally thank you for that. And I learned you are a surfer. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. The surfing councilwoman. But seriously, thank you for that, because mitigating a risk rather than reacting to a risk is going to be more cost effective and have better results in the end. Stopping it before we start, basically. On that, I know you're super busy. I'll be respectful of your time. Could you tell people how they can get in touch with you if they wanted to, or how they can learn about your policies that you're working through that red tape to fight for?
Absolutely. So what I would recommend is that folks go to our Council District 11 website. That is cd11.lacity.org. No, sorry, .gov. cd11.lacity.org. .gov.
.gov. It's the government now.
.gov. You can Google it. We'll come right up. But when you go to the CD11 website, there is a pop-up window where you can sign up to receive my weekly emails.
Oh, wonderful.
That is something that we put out usually on Saturday mornings. I try to keep it to once a week so I'm not overwhelming people. But that is the platform that I use to push out important information about what's happening at City Hall, what's happening on the council floor, what's going on in the committees. Those are the things that people need to be paying attention to. So that's a really good way to stay informed and up to speed on what's happening in the city. And folks can also follow me on social media. It's at Councilwoman Traci Park on Facebook and Instagram.
Excellent. And I love the fact that you actually have this weekly newsletter to keep people abreast of what's going on. So you are actually communicating. That's important, because a lot of people say, I didn't know about this, or this didn't happen. Why didn't anyone say anything? You're actively sharing. So huge.
Yes.
On that, I thank you so much for your time. This was a wonderful conversation, and I love the work that you were doing.
You're welcome, Wendy. And I'd love to come back again soon. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, open invitation anytime you want, any day. So guys, Thank you so much. I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice with Councilwoman Traci Park. Check her out, District 11, Los Angeles. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, Wendy. Thank you.